it's your best friend right here! Bioactive enclosures. Ah, yes! Nowadays, if you don't keep animals in the bioactive enclosure, then you're an animal abuser! Ah, internet, you're always so crazy. Anyway, don't want to be called an animal abuser? Why? Because you have some self-esteem issues and you want everyone to love you? Yes. Yes, I do. Then hop on this train! I'll teach you how to build a bioactive enclosure so that your self-esteem will be safe again. Before you start though, would you mind hitting that like button over there? Because every time I record this, I want perfect audio, so I won't turn on my air conditioner and it's like 100,000,000 degrees out there and I'm going to die. So, you know, just hit that like button. It's free. Alright, now step 1. You'll never guess this. Get an empty enclosure. BAM! You say that's common sense? I don't know what you're talking about. Now, there's something called a rectilinear space mentioned by this research here about snake enclosure sizes. To put it simply, an adequate rectilinear space means the snake has space to fully stretch out. The ability to fully stretch out actually allows them to form more natural behaviors. In this research, they suggest that the width, the length, and the height should all be longer than the snake you're keeping. But since today we're keeping a ball python, which is comparatively less active and ground-dwelling, I'll cut you some slacks. I'd say at least the sum of the width and the length should be longer than your snake, because the sum of two edges is always longer than the... This is not a math class! Next, we add a backdrop. And the glue I use to glue this backdrop to the cage is this flex glue, because I just really love fill.
You may have seen a few people test Flex Seal on a bucket!
About this backdrop, yeah, there's nothing special about it. Backdrop. We want to create a water reservoir that can hold water to maintain the humidity in both the air and the substrate. So for the first layer on the ground for the enclosure, I use LECA, which is short for lightweight expanded clay aggregate. Yeah, they are basically rocks. So I lay the LECA down on the bottom of the enclosure, and because they are big rocks, they have space between them and that allows the water to be preserved in those spaces. After that, I lay a layer of charcoal above the LECA. The charcoal will help absorb weird smells in your enclosure so that this stuff won't smell like your socks. Next, I lay down a cloth on the charcoal. This will allow the water to go through the cloth into the water reservoir, but the roots of the plants won't go through the cloth, because if the roots of the plants go through the cloth, it's gonna rot in the water and the plant's gonna die. Next, we put substrate. I'm using both cocoa husk and cocoa fiber. Now wait, we gotta think beforehand. Now here I'm using an under tank heating method, like a heat mat. So if I layered the substrate too thick, the heat will not be able to hit the surface. And if your snake doesn't have a hot spot in the enclosure, it's gonna die. So I make the substrate of this one side extra thin, so that the heat can penetrate through the substrate and go to the surface. But think, man, think! The side where you're using the heat mat is going to be drier. So you have to use plants that require a lower humidity level on this side. And on the other side here, you can use plants that requires a higher humidity level. That way, since the ball python requires a humidity level of 60 to 80% in this enclosure, they can not only thermoregulate, but they can also humidity regulate. Ah, big brain! Now put in the hides and isopods. Whoa, man, whoa, man, stop right there. Why are you putting weird land lobsters in my cage, bro? We're not in Maine! Well, if you want to go truly bioactive, you need someone to break down the snake poop and other wastes into something that the plants can absorb. That's what the isopods do. They eat, but they also eat mite eggs, so your snake will be free from horrific parasites. If you can find springtails, you can also add some to your enclosure, but I can't find any in my area. Very sad times. Light! Your plants need lights! I'm using a full spectrum light. It has some UVB. Ball pythons don't really need UVB to live a long, healthy life, but providing some won't hurt. But if you're keeping something that needs UVB, then you have to buy an extra UVB light. Water ball! I bought a water ball that's just too big for this enclosure, so I just switched it to this cheap plastic water ball. Yeah, water ball. Now you put your snake in, but I already put it in. It's down in the hide. That's the thing with the hide. Your snake stay under a hide and you won't be able to see it. So why do you... Well, although this enclosure might be able to house this particular snake, as the snake grows, you have to change to bigger enclosures. Remember, rectilinear space. And voila! Bioactive enclosure. Now, thanks to me, you'll be safe from being called an animal abuser. At least, until they find something else to whine about. Yeah, now that's a good reptile something video. And you know what they say? Hey, if you like that video, make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And make sure you check out my shorts. I made a lot of good shorts because it's too hard to make people laugh with long videos. So I'll see you next time.